So I want to give you an update what's going on with the Hyundai situation in Georgia. And I'll just tell you, there's a lot of pieces involved with this. You have the local Georgia officials, you have Trump, you have the opposition party to Trump, so the Democrats in USA, and then you have the Korean response, which I'll also go over with you. So let's just jump right in. First, this is from the local officials. This is a governor of Georgia here.
500 people detained, many of them South Korean contractors, here to help build parts of the factory Americans don't have the training to. Kemp said it showed the need for the country to reform the visa system.
And I think this is one of those times where, something good will come out of this in the end to help address the problem that, a lot more companies than just Hyundai are having.
Asked if he was worried the raid might force other foreign companies to rethink investing in Georgia.
I'm not going to be naive to the fact that they didn't pay attention to what happened last week, but I will tell you we've had good conversations with companies that are here. We've had good conversations with companies that are unnamed, that are looking to do business here.
Chris Clark, president and CEO of the Georgia Chamber of Commerce, agreed with the governor that the business climate is still good in Georgia as long as changes to the visa system are made.
These are temporary workers that come here. They train up Americans. They bring unique expertise and knowledge to this state, and we need a visa system that allows them to do their job, because at the long term, Georgia workers benefit from that.
Okay, so that was local Georgia officials, and essentially they want to do business. I mean, you can see it for yourself, whether or not they care about the Korean workers. That's another issue. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. And then you got the national issue where Trump is limiting H-1B visas, basically saying, hey, you got to pay $100K if you want to come work in USA. No, seriously. Trump adds $100,000 H-1B visa fee. And then you got the $1 million gold card. And there's also a $2 million one for corporations. I know it's as stupid as it sounds, but that's really the headlines. It's from the Wall Street Journal.
Now, you may recall around 300 South Korean nationals were detained in that raid on the Hyundai megasite 2 weeks ago. The Trump administration offered to let the South Korean people that were detained stay in the United States and work. All but one opted to go home, and today we're learning that the lone person that decided to stay is still in ICE detention. Now, again, that's according to an immigration attorney who is familiar with the situation. According to the South Korean government, this person stayed behind because he has family in the United States. It is unclear right now whether he knew he would remain in ICE detention when he decided to stay. Now, we have reached out to ICE to confirm that this person is still in detention and ask, if so, why. We're still waiting to hear back. We did also ask about the status of the roughly 175 other non-South Korean people who were detained in the raid. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
Now, from the Korean point of view, this is always the challenge. It's like, how do you describe the stuff that Trump does on a daily basis? First, you have to, show his tweets and you got to translate it. It doesn't really make a lot of sense in English. So imagine like translating it to another language and then trying to explain the culture of like, hey, this is the president of the United States going crazy. Basically, what they're portraying the stuff as, the $100,000 H-1B visa fee, is that it's 100 times more expensive than normal. And then they show Trump in the White House with the gold card. I just want you to just think about this from the foreign perspective, right? It's like, okay, it's $1,000 before, now he wants $100,000, which is 100 times more expensive than what it is today. It's as stupid as it sounds, right? And they have to translate this stuff, and then they go through in the Korean news saying, there's a lot of tech workers that are involved in the tech industry, et cetera. One thing I thought was interesting, though, is that they were actually quoting some things. I'll show you guys here.
So the whole idea is no more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers.
Right. And so you're like, what? Because from the Korean perspective, essentially they're thinking, okay, so what's going on with our workers that are still in the USA? What's, the role? Are we safe there or not? And that's essentially what, and then they showed Trump's tweets and they'll even say like, what Trump says from week to week is contradictory. That's how they report it in the Korean news, which you should know in the American news also, that the stuff that he says doesn't make sense, but they have to report it.
We need workers, we need great workers, and this pretty much ensures that that's what's going to happen.
하지만 당장 실리콘밸리에선
Right, then they're talking about Silicon Valley, but even with just in the same press conference, stuff that Lutnick says and stuff that Trump says doesn't match up. So that's what I'm saying is to try to translate the stuff to again, a Korean audience, but it's not just Korea. It's going to be anywhere around the world, Australia, Canada, whatever. Is like, okay, so this is what your workers are doing, and should we want to do business or not? So what they're reporting in the Korean news now is many big international companies are telling their H-1B visa holders, right, foreign employees, to basically don't travel, don't go to the USA, don't leave the USA, or you can come back because you're not sure if they're going to arrest you, when you get to the airport or whatever. Seriously, that's what they're reporting here. And it's just like, it's totally unsafe. So, and this was actually the headlines from Bloomberg corroborating that. Tech companies warn H-1B visa holders to avoid foreign travel. So basically, if you're in the USA and you're, have a work visa in the USA, just don't go anywhere because it's not safe. And it becomes hard for people who want to work in USA because, just for example, let's say you have a family member that's sick and you want to go home and go see your family member, but it may be not safe to go, or you have a wedding you need to go to, or any number of reasons that you may want to travel. There's lots of reasons why people want to go. And this is what it says here. It says, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, and other tech companies sent messages to affected employees telling them to return to the US on Saturday and cancel any plans to depart the country, after the White House said Friday that the new rules would go in effect on Sunday. So think about that. The White House makes an announcement on a Friday that these new, $100,000 fees and whatever's going to be changing is going to go into effect on Sunday. So like a couple days notice. And so what if you made travel plans for any number of reasons, or you're out of the country, right, for any number of reasons, just like, crap, now you got to book a flight, you got to get home. I mean, at this point, it's just like because I was going to say, it's like at this point, just don't go to the USA. But let's say you live in USA and you're from wherever you're from. So let's say you could be from France. We'll use the example of France, or you're from Spain, right? Somewhere in Europe. And your company's telling you got to come back. And you're just like, well, gee, now I got to go get a ticket. And even if I wanted to stay home, I would still need to go back to the USA to collect all of my personal things and then move, right? It's like these things happen so quickly. That's why there's a lot of reasons why this is chaotic, but it's really hard to talk about this stuff because it doesn't make sense in English, let alone to another language when you have to translate it, let alone to another culture. And then when they show images of like, what's this Trump doing with all this gold card stuff? It's crazy, right?
If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land. Train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs.
Right. And so then from the Korean perspective, you feel like, okay, so USA are what are you saying? Are you saying you want us to train American workers or not? Are you accusing us of stealing your jobs? It's like, do you guys see how it's hard to do business with the Trumpers? That's why I give you a different point of view. And so the other thing that's kind of interesting too, they were showing that in the Korean news, they were talking to a member of the Democrat Party from New York. And basically what I think is happening is that there's going to be other states out there, California, New York, wherever, who are going to say, hey, we're open for business and we're not going to come arrest you. I mean, and not only that, we'll try to keep the Trumpers off your back. I mean, that's essentially what's going on here. So this is from New York. Listen to this.
일터에서 쇠사슬에 묶여 끌려간 한국인 기술자들. 미국 민주당 오선 중진 톰 수오지 의원은 세 차례 끔찍하다고 말하며 이민 당국을 공개 비판했습니다.
Just a terrible visual representation of the way that the United States is treating one of our very good friends.
So I just wanted you to see that because basically they're reporting in our news that, not every single American's like Trump. And that's why they're saying, hey, maybe we can do business in New York, maybe California, etc. They're also talking about, what about people in Australia, Korea, and just sort of comparing the systems. And, effectively it's like, in every country is going to be different, but do you want to do business in America or not? Which states do you want to do business in? Which is interesting. And that's something that, any company would have to do is determine which is going to make the most sense for you. Now, the Hyundai CEO, you may not know this, he's actually from Spain. He's been with Hyundai a long time. He's been in the auto industry a long time. And he had some statements about the recent raid and the arrest by the Trumpers. Let's have a listen to this.
이들이 풀려난 것에 안도하고 있다고 털어놨습니다.
We understand the stress and hardship this has caused for them and their families, and we are relieved that they return to Korea safely.
So again, that's the Hyundai CEO, and just say again, he's from Spain because some people are like, well, why is his accent different? He also was going on to give a presentation. Now they're going to try to still expand in the USA. I I think they were talking about by 2030, something like that. And Hyundai's got a lot of different, obviously financial interests involved with this stuff. And you also know that Trump's not going to be, around forever. So, you could make plans, slow walk it now, and then go full speed ahead after Trump leaves, but that's still 3.5 years. Let's see what more the Hyundai CEO has to say.
We hope the US and Korea can work on mutually beneficial solutions for short-term business travel, especially for specialized technical expertise.
And then this is the profile of the Hyundai CEO. So his name is Jose Munez. He's the CEO of Hyundai. He's got a PhD in nuclear engineering, actually, from Polytechnic University of Madrid, and then an MBA also for Business School of Madrid. And then the CNBC was talking about how Hyundai is going to try to keep expanding and sell cars to Americans effectively. But one thing that was fascinating, though, about the quote from the Hyundai CEO is he was trying to distance himself from the raid, because now we talk about the plant as being Hyundai and LG, but he's saying that that was mostly LG, which is kind of interesting. So this is in the quote here. It says, I could not believe what I saw because I would have known probably before the news. So I said, something is weird here. How can something happen and nobody tell me? And when I go into the details and then realize it's not our facility, it's the LG battery plant. So I said something is weird here. This is something I noticed as well when the Korean workers got out of, effectively the ICE prison, arrived in Korea. The LG CEO and the LG executive staff were there, the LG Energy in particular. So not the Hyundai. So that probably makes sense that it's mostly LG workers and they were there to do the battery stuff. But Hyundai is involved with this. Just he's saying, it's not necessarily their direct plant. When you go back more to the Korean news, they're talking about how even the Congressional Research Service in the USA is studying this thing and saying it's a massive problem and a strain on relations between US and Korea. And then they're talking about where do we go from here? And basically the issue is none of the Korean workers physically were hurt. It's at least physically, at least what they were reporting, because they've done medical checkups. But obviously they're going to have the stress and the mental condition of the workers. Like, would they ever want to come back? And if you want to talk about legal terms, pain and suffering. So right now they're still going through interviewing all the workers, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a class action lawsuit. I wouldn't be shocked. The other question that's been going on here in Korea is, if we want to sell cars to Americans, why not just build them in Korea and just ship them over? Because that is a possibility. It's certainly a possibility. Obviously you could build in Canada or Mexico, but they haven't really been talking about that so much. It's been more like, why don't we just build them in Korea? The thing with Korean manufacturing in USA, I just want to show you guys, they keep showing in this map. There's a lot of investments that Korea's made. You can see it all right there, be it LG, Samsung, SK, Hankook Tire, right? I guess Samsung's building a really, really big plant, they were saying, and the problem is they can't finish these things because, Trump just put in the new visa, stuff, and it's not just the Korean companies. All international companies are concerned for the workers. That's why I showed you the Bloomberg thing. So I think this is one of the plants under construction here. This is also in our news here in Korea. They talk about the Jimmy Kimmel situation, where Trump is basically cracking down on free speech in USA. They show Trump in See, they show Trump's tweets, and they show him in Britain. They show Trump harassing reporters. It's like the stuff that they show. I'm just showing you what it is. They talk about how his cabinet, what they're up to. There's podcaster cabinet, etc. And then they'll talk about the response to the USA, meaning that, so this would be from the Democrat side. But the way that everything is portrayed here in Korea, it's just like we're trying to do business with these people, but it looks like they're devolving into civil war, and it appears to be like a developing country. That's just how it is. And I never thought I would see the USA in this way, right? So they say, hey, there's the killer, etc. You guys know this stuff already. This is also something that throws another wrinkle into the situation. This was just tweeted just an hour ago. So I was just making this video, and I checked the news one last time before I record. So just an hour ago, it says from Carolyn Levitt, fact sheet, President Donald J. Trump suspends entry of certain alien non-immigrant workers. So great, right? So now I guess certain people can't come. And then she goes on to clarify. She says, to be clear, this is not an annual fee. It's a one-time fee that applies only to the petition. Those who already hold an H-1B visa are currently outside the country right now will not be charged $100,000 to re-enter. Because that's a reasonable question. If I'm traveling and I'm going to come back, do I got to pay the $100K again? And then she says here, H-1B visa holders can leave and re-enter the country to the same extent as they normally would, according to her at least. This applies only to new visas, not renewals, and not current visa holders. It will apply in the next upcoming lottery cycle. So there's a lot of confusion in the White House because Lutnick, Trump, will say different things, and then Karen Leavitt will make a statement which is different than the prior two. And then from the outside point of view, if you're watching from Korea or whatever country you're watching from, you're just like, I'm just going to stay home. Honestly, that's what it boils down to. But the problem is for workers who already are in USA, like you got to start making plans, and Trump could change his mind again with another tweet. It's just too much uncertainty. So I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on this stuff. I know a lot of this stuff is hard to understand because it keeps going back and forth, but that's what it is. It's hard to understand Trump. And so it's stress for so many people right now. And the whole thing's just basically, we'll call it a crap storm. So that's my thoughts. I want to hear yours, and I'll catch you on the next video.